Hi everybody, so we're going to get started now. Welcome to our OUSD training on talking points and Flipgrid. So full disclosure about this recording, this is actually a recording that we're doing after the live webinar with participants earlier today. As your OUSD Coordinator of Instructional Technology, I forgot to hit the record button. But our panelists are all back, and we're going to do it again so that everyone can view the recorded information. And we're going to try to do an even better job presenting the information and answering your questions. And we are using the same questions that were posed in the live webinar. So I'm going to stop my screen share now. I am Kenneth Chin, just introducing myself. I am the Coordinator of Instructional Technology at OUSD, and I'm going to be helping to moderate this webinar. Just also want to introduce our other two panelists, Sam Solomon. Sam, could you introduce yourself and tell the viewers about yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Sam Solomon. I'm a teacher librarian on the Calvin Simmons campus where I work with Mr. Wesley. At Life Academy and United for Success Academy, we have two sets of 6th to 8th graders there and one set of 9th through 12th graders. And then prior to that role, I was a middle school English teacher here in the district.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Sam. And our other panelist who's going to be talking about talking points today, Michael Wesley. Could you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Michael Wesley, and I'm also at United for Success, the Calvin Simmons campus. I'm a computer science teacher and use talking points almost on a daily basis.
All right, fantastic. So thank you very much. We are going to get started. So I'm just going to share my screen one more time. So this week, the theme of our webinars has been getting set up and getting started with distance learning. Yesterday, and in our communications with you, we've been talking about the importance of staying connected with your students. And that's really what these two programs are all about. So before we get into the training, just want to talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing. So we're really talking about two programs, even though each is for communication. So we're going to split up the training into two parts. The first part, we'll be talking about talking points, and we'll start with a brief intro to talking points, and then Michael is going to do a demo of talking points with a screen share, and then we'll take some time to answer questions that were asked during the live webinar. The second part, we're going to be talking about Flipgrid, and we'll use the same format and just give you a brief intro, and then Sam is going to do an on-screen demo of Flipgrid, and she'll address some questions that were also asked during the live webinar, and hopefully we'll have some answers for you. Okay, so let's talk about talking points. So what is talking points? Well, talking points is a platform that lets teachers send messages to families via text message or mobile app. And any messages that you send will be received via text message unless the family has talking points, the Talking Points app installed on their smartphone, in which case the app will take over communication. And one really great thing about Talking Points for OUSD classroom teachers is that you should have Talking Points synced with Aries so that teacher rosters with family contact info will already be loaded into your teacher accounts. So you should be ready, if things are set up correctly, just to start using Talking Points right away to send messages to all of your students if you're a classroom teacher. One really fantastic feature about Talking Points is that messages are automatically translated to and from the family's home language. So if you send a message in English, it will pick up the home language that is listed in Aries, it will translate to that language, and then conversely, when families respond in their home language, that message will be translated back to English. So it's a really great feature for families that need it. So a couple things to know about Talking Points. About 50 schools were already covered by the OUSD Talking Points contract before the school closures. And the Talking Points CEO was very kind and offered to extend access to all OUSD classroom teachers including Aries syncing, which is a little bit of a technical lift, but she and the team did that for us. So we're really appreciative of that. Schools that have been given access since the closures, though, do not have the ability to send out all school messages. This was a little bit just too much of a lift for them. They're a small company and they did not have the staff to support this. So unfortunately, that is not available to the new schools, but all OUSD classroom teachers now should have access to Talking Points with that Aries syncing. These are the schools that have been added to Talking Points since the closures. So just take a quick look at that list so that you'll know, just to manage expectations. If you're on that list, if you're a classroom teacher, you should already have access set up with Aries syncing, but your principal or administrators will not have the ability to send all school messages to all of the families at your school. So just want to let you know that. And then a couple other things to know, or really one thing. There are going to likely be a couple of glitches or some problems with just getting logged in. This is new for a lot of schools. I'm also new to this, and I'll be helping out with the implementation of Talking Points, helping teachers get set up. But there are likely to be some issues. If there are, then please email me at kenneth.chin@ousd.org. Okay? So let's go ahead and transition to our demo, which is going to be led by Michael Wesley. So go ahead and take it away, Michael.
Hi, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Michael Wesley here again. So the main screen for Talking Points, the URL is talkingpts.org. You can find this easily by Googling it or other links. TalkingPoints.org. On the main screen here, on the home page, you'll see that here we are, the teacher, and they send a message in English. Hello, have a great school year. And over here, we see it's received by the family in a different language. So the information, the configuration, as Kelly said, comes from Aries and 80-20 rule. 80% of everything you should do is planning. So configure Aries. So whomever the person, your contact person at your school is that handles Aries, they should set up all of your classes if possible. Not if possible, they should set them up. They should try as best they can to have a text or mobile phone number for the recipient, because this tool will send a text message initially, and it will say, give them a link that says if you'd like to install the app, whether you're Apple or Android. If you have a Samsung, that's Android. So everything is either Apple, like iPhone, and everything else is Android. The 1%ers, if you have a BlackBerry or a flip phone, that's okay. But all of your planning needs to take place in Aries. Your classes, your groups of students will come from there. And if you don't have those groups, we'll talk about that in a moment. So we'll log in. We log in with our Google sign-in. I click the login button, and then here, sign in with Google. And let's see, I should be signed in, I think. Wonderful. I am using a Windows PC. So as many of us boomers do, we like this old technology. So this shows up on my PC. If you're on a Mac or Chromebook, I'm not sure what you want, but this will allow, if I click allow, it will send me messages. When a parent responds or says something, I will get that message. I personally just going to block them. I just don't want the messages popping up on my PC. Also, as for the messages, when someone responds, it goes into your Gmail, your school Gmail account. And so if you've configured that on your phone, you will see the response from whomever actually on in your Gmail. So then it would pop up as a message there. So, you can do that. So we're looking at our screen. This is our dashboard. We have a compose button here. We have a list of classes. I have an advisory class. I have a computer science discovery, blah, blah, blah. The person who configures this at your school can, if they've, in mine, we have the sections, which is tricky, so it makes it a little harder for me to know which class is which, but that's okay. If they configure it with class names and stuff like that, it makes it easier. And down here in the lower left-hand corner, which is opposite of what you might think, I click my name and I get my profile here. This profile picture comes from Google. And then I can configure my basic stuff. I really don't need to do much in here, but let's take a peek at the profile. In my profile, my signature, this is important. So I will show you later where you can substitute your name. So I have Mr. Wesley. So when I substitute my name, the thing in the your signature box is what shows up. And we have some things there. You take some time, take a look in there. Now, let's go back to our messages. Here we have a class feed. This is where I've been communicating with students. And over here is everything that's been happening, which includes the school messages and whatnot. And I have messages over here and I have scheduled over here. I haven't scheduled anything recently, so but nothing's over there. So let's take a look at Compose. This is very similar to email or text. And we have a number of things going on here, and it's fairly straightforward. We have our recipients here. Here is where we can put in our message, and I'll show you that. Here are a few options to decorate our message. I don't use that. That's where these color bars are. Your message can be up to 320 characters long. I personally try to keep my messages short and concise. If you go up to 320 characters and it converts to another language and gets longer, I don't know what's going to happen. Down here, we have 3 groups. We have suggested messages. These come from the Talking Points people themselves. Here's some examples. Saved messages, messages that I personally have saved. School messages, ones that have been made by your school. When we send a message, we get your basic options. We can attach a file. I don't know if you can attach a Word file. I personally do not use Microsoft Office in the Oakland Unified School District, so that was a question that came up. I use all Google stuff. That works. Office, I'm not sure. We can attach a photograph or an image or video. Right here, this triangular thing here allows us to add files from Google Drive. All of your docs, all of your sheets and slide presentations are out there. We can send an emoji, and we can add a poll if you want to know some information about the students or something like that, whatever. So let's take a quick look. Again, the information in here comes from Aries, so most of your planning needs to take place in Aries. I have groups. My first group is called Everyone. These are all of my students, so I have 145 students. Then next, I have my classes, CS Discovery, Section 101, blah, blah, blah. So if you're a little more descriptive in Aries, then you'll get a better description. So for example, I can select a class and notice it pops it in, it populates that. And then I'm like, oh, I need to, second class because I have 2 classes, 2 7th grade classes, what have you. I can select 2 if I want, and I can do any combination. So that's great. Now let's say that I have another student that I want to add. I'm going to add Maria. So I type in, it does a hypertext. Oh, here's Maria. So I can have my classes, I can have individual students, whatever combination I want. Compose a message. Oh, there. I can make my message just for the fun of it. Gives you a few basic emojis if you're interested in that. And again, it counts the characters. Try to stay away from 320. So we get rid of that. And this is a toggle. That means it's in the way. In order to get rid of it, you have to click down here again to get rid of it. Save as template. So for example, my big pet peeve are the cell phones, the mobile phones. So your kid has a phone. Did I even put the A in there? I did not. And I'm interested in saving this because I'm going to use this every single day. So I can click Save Template. Now, it's automatically switched me over here. So here's my new template. Hello there, your kid has a phone. I can, and here's another one. Hello parents. I did this one for the earlier meeting. But here's one I actually use. Student first name is using his, her phone in class, has been told. I genericize the gender. Notice this in the brackets. Student first name. We call this camel case, and with the way I've typed it, this is case sensitive. You can use a macro to substitute. So square bracket above the enter key, lowercase student, uppercase F first, uppercase N name. When you send this out, let's say I send this out to all 145 of my students. I just picked every one and it goes out. It actually sends an individual note to each of those 145 people, so they don't know who else has received it. In addition, where I have student first name, it will put their name. It will put John, Mary, Juan, Michael, what have you, for each specific student. So these are really useful. And if you need examples, just look at the suggested messages. Here's a useful, you can look in help, but teacher signature, that again comes from over here. And so you can put your teacher, Ms. A, or whatever you want to call yourself. Student last name, here's a student first name example. These come in the suggested messages. So just look at these and use these as your templates. So again, we can schedule. Let's say you can use this for positive reinforcement, communication, whatever. Parents actually love this. They really love it. And the students, you can communicate with them well too. Click schedule. And let's say you want to send something, you know, it's like the library is going to be open for a book giveaway or something like that. You know, schedule it for 8 a.m. on, click schedule. I have my calendar here with my time. Something's going to happen. And then, of course, I can schedule this. And I didn't cover school messages. We don't really use this, but these are the messages your school can pre-make. If your principal or person who's managing this wants to do that, then they can pre-make certain messages and other. And then all you have to do once you're done is, well, either schedule it or click send. And let's see, I'm going to cancel. I don't want to send that message. Let's cancel, leave. I think we've covered most things. Again, back to Aries, you need to make sure that you have a mobile phone number. This will not work with a home phone landline. Also, make sure that you haven't accidentally, hopefully not, scheduled the student's phone, because, you know, I get a percentage of students and they always send back a snide comment. And finally, make sure the language is selected. If you have a Latin-speaking family, you may want to err on the side of just click Spanish. Because a lot of families don't speak English in my particular school. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Michael. Really appreciate the demo there. So we did get some questions earlier. There were a lot of similar questions, but we compiled the questions. And so we're going to take a look at those questions. And if you want to have a crack at answering some of those, Mr.
Okay.
West, that would be great.
Okay, I have that screen open now. I'll just speak to them. If the numbers in Aries, that would be the phone numbers, are outdated, how can we add updated or current information to talking points? I would strongly suggest, again, going to the person that manages Aries and have it corrected there. That way it's corrected for the whole school and not just for just the Talking Points app. How does Talking Points work for non-teacher staff? Let me share my screen again. So over here, we're back to the Talking Points dashboard, actually. It looks a little different because on my classes on the left, I can make a class. This is my SPED 2 class. I create class. Then from there, I can, again, invite codes. I can add contacts. I'm going to click Add Contacts, and we're going to do this the hard way. So it gives you some instructions. You just follow through the wizard, and it gives you some information. And got it. So now I can add my student's name, another name, the relationship if you want, or the parent, excuse me, the home language I can select in here. And then I can add, again, the mobile phone number. And we're good to go. So you can build your list. You can, go to your teacher if you're like an assistant or something else, and build your list manually like that. Make sure you always give descriptive names to whatever you're doing. And let's see, takes us back here. Teacher has 2 classes. Again, yeah, 1 roster. I think that's been answered. Microsoft Word, we talked about this. Use Google Docs. The whole district uses Docs. Anybody can access Docs from the outside. Everybody's not using Microsoft Office anymore. It's becoming passé. or just professional. And text message fees, I'm not sure about. Some people using text message fees. I don't know. I don't know how that works, if you have to pay for it still. We covered creating your own classrooms. Speak Spanish.
So I think one question, Michael, that was up at the top was especially for teachers that they might not have rosters. Maybe they're prep teachers, maybe they're intervention specialists. So just to address that, there are, so you can create a free Talking Points account for yourself, even if you don't, if you are not part of the Aries classroom rosters. So you can do that. The only thing is that you have to manually enter your students. So it does take a little bit of work, but it is definitely possible to do that.
Yes. Thank you for that clarification. I forgot. Yes. So, any other questions? See anything that pops up at you?
We will take a look at all of these questions and make sure that we are addressing these on the Talking Points webpage on Teacher Central. So thank you for the presentation, Michael, and for the question and answer. Very informative, very helpful. We appreciate it a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to transition into our second part of the webinar, in which we talk about Flipgrid. So what is Flipgrid? Well, Flipgrid is basically a communication platform. It's easy to use, it's fun, and it uses short recorded videos for communication. And with Flipgrid, you, the teacher, can post what's called a topic, which is basically a prompt, and students respond with their own short videos that everyone in the class can see. And as opposed to a live Zoom meeting or video conference, it's asynchronous. In other words, it doesn't happen at the same time. And asynchronous instruction is something we've really been emphasizing and recommending right now, because it could be really hard for everybody in a class to show up for a Zoom meeting at a certain time because of various things happening in households right now. So you want to give students and yourself the flexibility to engage in a way that works for everyone's schedule. I was talking to Sam about Flipgrid the other day, and she made a great comment that Flipgrid is really a perfect platform for right now, because we want to stay connected, but we also need to stay connected in a way that can flex with different schedules and situations. So to be honest, Flipgrid is new to me, and I just started getting familiar with it. So I created a class, which is called a grid in Flipgrid, and I got 3 of my kids to join the class. So here is the video that I recorded for my first topic. Hey class, how's it going? Mr. Chin here. I've got a question for you. If you could be any animal, what would it be and why? Record your response and let us know. Okay, so then I sent a link to my students. I gave them a date to respond, and I got onto Flipgrid on my phone to check.
If I could be any animal, I'd be a dolphin, because I could do little tricks while I jump, and I can make cute little noises.
If I could be any animal, I'd be a penguin, because they can go on Earth and in the water, and I like their whole process and how the dad keeps the eggs and everything. I don't know, I think it's cool, and I think I would want.
If you could be any animal, what would it be?
Eel.
Why eel?
Well, because I love eels, and I love the electric eel because it's short.
Okay, so that's just a sample of what's possible with Flipgrid. It's really easy to use. It's fun. And you can see that users can put emojis and text on their videos, which the kids really like. So let's turn it over to Sam now, who's going to show us how to get started with Flipgrid.
I have a few slides to show you guys. And here we go. So kind of the flow of what's going to happen as this loads is that I'm just going to talk a little bit about why you might use Flipgrid. I'm going to talk about kind of how you might use Flipgrid. I'm going to show you the teacher view and invite Mr. Wesley and Kelf to use the student view, and then show you what that looks like as well. And I'm going to model in the teacher view how to set up your grid and how to set up your topic. So that's that. Why would you use Flipgrid? Exactly what Kelly mentioned, right? We're missing that face-to-face aspect of school, which is so important. And Flipgrid is a really like beautiful asynchronous way to like still engage with each other in conversation around whatever topic you're covering in your class, or around, you know, community building questions or appreciations. Flipgrid has a library of pre-created activities that you can import right into your class, or it allows you to easily create your own, which is great. And I also think Flipgrid's a really important opportunity to invite students to participate in another modality, right? If you're using Google Classroom, probably the majority of your assignments are going to be text-based and writing-based, but Flipgrid is a great opportunity for students who maybe are more comfortable or more expressive verbally. So those are some reasons I love it. Flipgrid, like so many things, sort of has its own language. So when they talk about a grid, they're talking about your class. So I'm going to model building a grid for this class, which is kind of our second pass at the webinar. And then a topic would be the assignment within the class. So Mr. Wesley and Kenneth are going to answer a topic in my grid. These are some ideas of how to use Flipgrid. They are not my ideas. They came from these sites down here at the bottom. So they have, you know, obviously reading and discussion prompts are really awesome. You could have students doing book talks about things that they're reading, talking about vocabulary and being kind of like a living word wall. If you're a math teacher, it's a great number talk space. If you're a foreign language teacher, all those speaking and listening skills are really awesome on Flipgrid and doable. Yesterday, I got to talk to some performing arts teachers. So like having people do like a cold read and a warm read of a piece, or if you're a music teacher, like a sight read and a practice read, or interpreting art pieces, or if we have advisories that we're trying to connect with, those community building and appreciation questions. And again, the links to where I got these are here in the slides in the bottom, and we'll share the slides on Teacher Central too. So I'm going to click here. It's going to take me to the teacher view of Flipgrid, and it's really nothing special. It's just taking me to flipgrid.com, and I don't want to type it in front of you. So I'm going to click Educator Login, and what I'm going to model again is building a grid, which is where you would house your class, right? And then building a topic, which is the part that you guys will respond to. So I already have some grids built, but I'm going to click Add New Grid, and I'm going to call this OUSD Webinar 2. And then one of the concerns that came up in the Q&A was around privacy for students. Flipgrid makes it really easy to control who has access to your Flipgrid. So for example, you can require that students join using their school email address. That's one way that you can protect student privacy. Another is to create a student ID, so that I would say, oh, Kenneth, this is your ID to log into our Flipgrid. Mr. Wesley, this is your ID. It's a little bit more labor intensive than the school email option, which is probably what I would choose if I was setting it up for my class. But just for like ease of use right now, because we're all adults, I'm gonna click public and PLCs. And I'm going to click next. And then, so they're just reminding me of the privacy settings that I've selected here, and that's okay. If you're concerned about student privacy, again, you can enable this toggle and create a password for your Flipgrid that students need to have in order to engage with it. I'm not going to do that, just for ease of use. Great, my grid is ready. One of the things that's super awesome about Flipgrid is it's really, really easy to integrate with Google Classroom. So I've created this grid, which is my classroom on Flipgrid, and I could share this grid to my Google Classroom just by clicking this button and then like 2 more buttons. And I might post it as a material, because if I'm posting the grid, which is my classroom, there'll be lots of different topics or assignments that I'm asking students to interact with. But I can post just my grid to Google Classroom quite easily. It'll take me to this page, and then it'll say what class, and I'll pick my class, and then how do I want to post it. So again, I recommend posting your grid as a material, because it's something that people will be returning to, and then your topics as assignments. So I'm going to go to my grid, which is my class, and then Flipgrid automatically populates this say hello one. And it's active, but I could freeze it or I could hide it. If I wanted to push it out to my class, I could click share, and I could share in Google Classroom. I could just share the link. I could share the QR code. And I can also click actions and edit it. I can record a response as the teacher to model. But actually, I'm just going to delete this topic because I want to ask you guys a more interesting question. So as a teacher, I'm then going to click add topic. And Kelth recorded a video in his. I could also import an assignment from this Disco library of pre-created Flipgrid activities, but I'm just going to say webinar check in, and I'm going to ask how might you use Flipgrid in your class? Question mark. Students can record a really short video, like 15 seconds, all the way up to 10 minutes. And you as the teacher can decide what is like the outside limit of time that you'd want somebody to talk. I'm gonna make it 1 minute in this video. You can add to your post a video like Kelth did by recording a video or uploading a video you've already recorded. If there's a video on YouTube that you want students to respond to, you could do that. Art teachers or social studies teachers, you could use an image. You can upload a document, all kinds of stuff to add on. I'm going to also click more options. So a topic tip might help your students by saying, hey, a great answer would use these vocabulary words from our unit. You can also attach larger things like your assignment from Google Drive. I want to talk a little bit about moderation because that was a question that came up today in the webinar. People were asking if you can approve videos before they're posted. And if you enable moderation, then yes, you have to approve the videos before they post. I'm disabling it just for ease of use right now in this demo. If you're using it with students, you may want to enable moderation. But even if it's not enabled, you always have the option as a teacher to delete or remove a student video from your grid. Allow student-to-student replies. I'm going to leave that enabled. If you want your Flipgrid to become inactive after a certain point, like if you have a deadline for students to post, you can do that here. This is sort of video features, how students interact. Where do you want students to be able to add stickers and stuff? I don't mind if you add it to both, but if you only want students to be able to add it to their selfie at the end and not in the video that is the content of their main post, you'd click there. I think another important thing to enable is the sticky note because it allows students to take notes and just be able to view the note on their screen, not in the video. And then I'm going to enable likes because that way people can kind of respond to theirs more. And then I'm going to click create topic. And now my topic is created and I have 2 students here on my call who are going to graciously interact with this topic. There's 2 ways, because we don't have a Google Classroom, right, just between the 3 of us, that we can do this. So one way is I can show them the QR code and they can scan it with their phone. That works on iPhones and Android devices. The other way is I can copy and paste the chat or the link into our chat, maybe, if Zoom cooperates with me. Let's see. Maybe not. Let's see. Share. And then here's the QR code if that's how you want it. And then, I don't know why it won't let me see the chat. Maybe it's, oh, there it is. Ha ha ha. Chat. There's the link if that's easier for you guys. And then Kelth and Mr. Wesley can either use the QR code, they can use the link to get to our Flipgrid, and we'll give them a few minutes to do that. While they're,
I'm gonna put myself on mute and hide my video while I do that.
Perfect. While they're doing that, I can talk about some of the questions that came up in the webinar today. If I can find where it is on my computer. Here it is. So somebody asked about if I could speak to how Flipgrid can be incorporated into Google Classroom. I hope that I answered that mostly. They have the add the share to Google Classroom button like there right away for you. So it can be used really easily with Google Classroom. You can share the grid or the topic to your classroom. I would share the grid as a material, as it's something you'll return back to, and the topic as an assignment. This person asked, do students have to have the app, or can they do it from a browser on their phone? You can do Flipgrid just from a web browser by going to flipgrid.com, or there's apps in the Android and iOS store. I have an iPhone and I only use the iPhone app, but I found it very easy to use. Another person asked about how you can add kids in Flipgrid. So just like Mr. Wesley and Caliph did, I can share the code, the QR code, or there's a student access code, or they can go to flipgrid.com and type in that code. So the link, the QR code, they can have the code to your Flipgrid. And Flipgrid has really good help content about this that I also will link to on Teacher Central. Does the teacher have the power to view students' videos before they go to the whole class? Yes, they do. Enable moderation if that's what you want, and you can always remove those videos if you don't like them, or they didn't answer the question, or they got too silly. Let's see how we're doing. Okay. So while you guys were recording, I answered some questions from the Q&A, and I can look now at our at Flipgrid. So this is my teacher view of Flipgrid, and I can see Caliph's response here. And if it was really horrible and inappropriate, which I'm sure it's not, I can hide it, or I can delete it. I can download it and send it to his mom on TalkingPoints. And that, oh wait, I got a link in the chat, but I can't click on the chat because my thing is covering it.
Yeah, Mr. Wesley was having a
camera conflict. So there's Kelly's video. I can see it as the teacher. I can approve it and give feedback if I'd like to. And I think that kind of concludes the Flipgrid walkthrough that I have for you. I do have a few tutorials that we'll put up on Teacher Central as well that are student-facing and teacher-facing for Flipgrid.
Okay, that's fantastic. Very nice demo, Sam. We really appreciate that. Just really appreciate everyone who's checking out this webinar right now. Make sure that you're checking back with Teacher Central for more resources, more webinars. Really appreciate your participation, Mr. Wesley, Michael, and Sam also. We really appreciate you participating today. Very helpful, and we hope that teachers will make use of these resources. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.